Welcome to Thoughtful Tomes. Today, we delve into the timeless world of The Sorrows of Young Werther, the seminal novel by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Though it was first published in 1774, its relevance stretches far beyond the confines of its era, touching on emotional and existential truths that resonate with readers today. Goethe's work not only encapsulates the fervor and turbulence of the late 18th century, but also marks a defining moment in the emergence of the Romantic movement. With this novel, Goethe invited readers to examine the frailty of the human soul, the conflict between personal desires and societal expectations, and the profound struggle to reconcile inner passion with outward restraint. At its core, The Sorrows of Young Werther presents a narrative that transcends the mere story of unrequited love. It delves into the deep, often agonizing exploration of what it means to seek meaning and connection in a world that seems indifferent to the individual's most intimate longings. Through Werther's intense emotional journey, Goethe brings to light the universal quest for purpose, the tension between individual identity and societal norms, and the profound, sometimes devastating impact of unchecked passion. This story, woven with psychological complexity, doesn't merely capture the turbulence of youthful desire. It invites us to reflect on the very nature of our emotional landscapes and the delicate balance between pursuing our desires and safeguarding our well-being. In this episode, we will peel back the layers of Goethe's masterwork to explore the intricate psychological landscape, the universal themes of longing and despair, and the broader implications of Werther's tragic choices. By doing so, we aim to understand why this novel remains so powerful, not just as a tale of romantic heartbreak, but as a profound meditation on human nature, inner conflict, and the cost of pursuing passion without pause or perspective. Introduction to Werther's journey. Werther's journey begins with a fleeting yet powerful infatuation that soon evolves into a relentless, all-consuming love. What begins as admiration for Lotta's warmth, kindness, and grace rapidly transforms into an obsessive idealization of her. She becomes not just a woman, but a symbol of beauty, purity, and an unattainable perfection in Werther's eyes. This intense connection, while immediate and overwhelming, is sharply complicated by the cruel awareness that Lotta is already promised to another man, Albert. Albert's steadiness and rationality stand in stark contrast to Werther's emotional volatility, highlighting a profound dissonance between the idealized world Werther creates around Lotta and the grounded, practical reality of her life. As Werther's attempts to control his desire and suppress his emotions fail, his love shifts from admiration to a deep, almost existential need that colors every facet of his being. What Goethe presents in this transformation is not just a man falling deeper into love, but a soul becoming irrevocably entangled in its own yearning, a yearning that reshapes his perception of reality itself. This transition is not abrupt. It is a slow, agonizing slide into obsession, one that is portrayed with remarkable empathy and nuance. Through Werther's eyes, the reader is invited to witness the inner torment of unrequited love, not as a simple heartache, but as a complex and overwhelming emotional experience that consumes every thought, every action, and every breath. What makes Werther's descent into obsession so poignant is the vulnerability that accompanies his sensitivity. Goethe carefully examines the psychological unraveling of a soul that is deeply attuned to the emotional textures of life, but ill-equipped to navigate the harsh realities that conflict with his desires. The novel paints a picture of a world that, while rich in emotional depth, seems indifferent to the intensity of Werther's inner world. This emotional disconnect is what makes his longing so excruciating and ultimately destructive. His love for Lot is not merely unrequited. It is a love that becomes an almost dangerous force, one that isolates him further from reality and pushes him to the edge of despair. Thus, the story becomes more than a tragedy of unfulfilled love. It is a profound exploration of the inner conflict between the individual's emotional world and the external forces that shape and, at times, thwart it. In this light, The Sorrows of Young Werther is a meditation on the power of longing, the yearning for connection, for understanding, for something greater than oneself, and the heartbreaking consequences that can arise when this longing is left unchecked, unacknowledged, or unsupported by the world around us. It is a sobering reminder of how deeply human desires can shape our lives, for better or worse, and how the vulnerability of a sensitive soul can become both a gift and a curse in the face of reality. Work as an escape, the futility of external solutions. In a desperate bid to escape the emotional chaos consuming him, Werther turns to work as a means of distraction. He hopes that the structure, discipline, and demands of duty might offer him some respite from the internal storm he can no longer quell. Yet, paradoxically, this pursuit of external solutions only deepens his sense of emptiness and isolation. The more he throws himself into the routine, the more it serves as a reminder of the futility of trying to outrun his inner turmoil. Goethe astutely illustrates a timeless truth. External actions, however productive or well-meaning, rarely heal the wounds within. In fact, they often serve to conceal or exacerbate the true nature of suffering. By avoiding the painful introspection necessary for healing, Werther's work becomes a mere facade, a hollow attempt to fill a void that can only be addressed by turning inward. This theme, while deeply rooted in the context of Werther's emotional crisis, resonates far beyond the 18th century. Goethe's critique of external remedies speaks directly to modern sensibilities, where the pressure to remain constantly busy, productive, or distracted has only intensified. In today's world, achievement, accumulation of material wealth, or social validation are often seen as markers of success and happiness. Yet Goethe's work suggests that these external measures are no substitute for self-reflection, emotional honesty, and alignment with one's true values. When we turn to external solutions without addressing the underlying emotional or existential discontent, we risk losing touch with the deeper sources of meaning that can guide us toward peace. Werther's descent into despair, despite his efforts to fill his life with work, serves as a cautionary tale. True healing requires the courage to confront our internal struggles head-on. Without self-awareness, without the willingness to examine the causes of our pain, we remain locked in a cycle of seeking solace in external distractions that ultimately offer only temporary relief. The hollow pursuit of work as an escape becomes a metaphor for the empty search for meaning in things outside ourselves. Werther's journey, tragic as it is, reveals the profound necessity of emotional honesty and the danger of ignoring our innermost truths. Only through the painful, often uncomfortable process of self-reflection can we hope to confront the root of our suffering and begin the long path toward genuine healing. The impact of unresolved emotions on relationships. Werther's internal turmoil does not remain a private struggle. Instead, it radiates outward, casting a shadow over every relationship he holds dear. As his despair deepens, his emotional state becomes increasingly volatile, and he begins to project his unhappiness onto others. This projection distorts his perception, causing him to view his friends and loved ones not as sources of support, but as sources of blame. Goethe insightfully illustrates the corrosive nature of unresolved emotions, showing how unprocessed feelings of pain, jealousy, and frustration can poison our interactions with those around us. What began as a personal crisis transforms into a social one, as Werther's failure to confront his inner turmoil directly impacts his ability to form meaningful connections. In Werther's case, this projection of internal distress onto others is not merely an unfortunate consequence. It becomes a self-perpetuating cycle that deepens his isolation. His resentment toward those around him, especially Charlotte, the object of his unattainable love, further alienates him from any possibility of relief or support. Ironically, the very people who might offer him solace are the ones he inadvertently pushes away. Goethe deftly captures the destructive potential of emotional repression, demonstrating that our inability to acknowledge and process our feelings often leads to distancing ourselves from others, even when those connections are most needed. This pattern, though dramatically played out in Werther's life, mirrors a broader truth about human relationships. Unresolved emotions, when left unchecked, can create rifts that damage not only the individual, but those they interact with. Werther's refusal to confront his vulnerabilities leads him to externalize his pain, and this externalization serves to trap him further in a cycle of alienation. By blaming others for his misery, he fails to realize that his suffering is, in many ways, of his own making. Goethe's work serves as a stark reminder of the importance of self-awareness, urging us to consider how much of our emotional discord stems from our unwillingness to confront our own feelings honestly. This exploration of Werther's relationships offers a timely and profound reflection on the dynamics of human connection. It encourages us to examine our own lives. How often do we, consciously or unconsciously, hold others accountable for emotions that have their roots within us? Goethe's cautionary tale reveals that when we refuse to take responsibility for our internal states, we risk not only sabotaging our own emotional well-being, but also undermining the very relationships that could provide us with comfort and healing. The narrative compels us to look inward for the source of our unhappiness rather than casting blame outwardly. By confronting our own emotional wounds, we can prevent them from bleeding into our relationships and, in turn, create space for greater emotional maturity. Goethe's call to self-reflection is not just a lesson for Werther, but for all of us. True transformation, he suggests, begins not by reshaping the world around us or blaming others for our distress, but by embracing the courage to face our inner struggles head-on. It is through this painful yet liberating process of self-confrontation that we can find the clarity and strength necessary to heal both ourselves and our connections with others. Isolation and escapism, the pitfalls of unchecked romanticism. Werther's intense fixation on Lade doesn't merely tug at his heart, it propels him into a suffocating isolation, gradually severing his bonds with the people and community around him. This voluntary retreat is not just a withdrawal from others, but a deepening immersion in a world that increasingly exists only within the confines of his own mind. Rather than seeking solace in the warmth of human relationships or seeking healthy outlets for his emotions, Werther becomes ensnared by the seductive pull of his own idealized emotions, where love and nature become refuges from a reality that he finds too painful to confront. In this isolated state, nature morphs into a distorted mirror of his longing, reflecting not the peace of the present moment, but a poignant reminder of his unattainable dreams. His emotions, once a source of personal expression, now warp into a prison of their own making, suffocating him under the weight of unattainable ideals. Goethe subtly critiques this all-consuming romanticism, portraying it as both alluring and destructive. In Werther's world, the very thing that promises escape and solace becomes the force that traps him. Through Werther's descent into this self-imposed isolation, Goethe paints a powerful portrait of the dangers that arise when the pursuit of ideals goes unchecked. Romanticism, with its emphasis on the individual's emotional depth and longing for transcendent beauty, becomes a double-edged sword. While these ideals can inspire creativity and passionate love, Goethe shows that when pursued to the exclusion of everything else, they lead to a collapse of the very foundations that sustain a healthy, balanced life. By immersing himself wholly in his emotional world, Werther disregards the practical connections, friendships, family, and community that provide the grounding needed to navigate life's inevitable struggles. His retreat into the realm of his own feelings not only isolates him from others, but it also strips him of the tools necessary to navigate the complexities of life itself. In this way, Werther's emotional withdrawal is not just a personal tragedy, but also a cautionary tale, illustrating the dangers of allowing idealism and fantasy to dominate our lives to the point of disconnection from reality. Goethe's story resonates with a timeless warning, especially in today's world, where the pursuit of perfection, whether in love, success, or happiness, can become an all-consuming drive. We live in an era where the idealized visions of beauty and accomplishment are often pushed by social media, popular culture, and societal pressures, leaving many to chase after unattainable standards. In this context, Werther's tragic fate serves as a poignant reminder of the cost of extremism in our aspirations. His story urges us to pause and consider the price we pay when we set unrealistic expectations, whether for ourselves or for others. The pursuit of perfection without grounding in the present moment, without recognition of the inherent messiness of life and human connection, only leads to dissatisfaction and disillusionment. Goethe invites us to adopt a more measured, balanced approach, one that values connection over isolation, reality over fantasy, and personal growth over an unrelenting pursuit of idealized dreams. It is through embracing the imperfections of life and accepting both our human limitations and our capacity for connection that we can find a more sustainable path to fulfillment. One that does not require the abandonment of our ideals, but rather integrates them within the framework of a more grounded, self-aware existence. Self-awareness and acceptance, the path to true freedom. In the end, Werther's tragic fate stands as Goethe's most poignant warning about the dangers of self-deception and the absence of true self-awareness. Throughout the novel, Werther's persistent inability, or perhaps unwillingness, to acknowledge his own vulnerabilities and limitations entraps him in a cycle of obsessive longing that is both self-destructive and isolating. His fixation on Lotte is not just a romantic obsession, but a projection of his internal conflicts, desires, and fears. Rather than seeing Lotte as a person with her own life and agency, Werther casts her as the unattainable ideal that he believes will bring meaning and salvation to his otherwise empty existence. But this distorted perception only deepens his emotional imprisonment as he constructs an image of love and happiness that is ultimately unattainable and self-defeating. His failure to recognize and accept the flaws in his own psyche leads him to chase a fantasy that keeps slipping further out of reach, fueling his despair and deepening his alienation from both reality and other people. Goethe's narrative suggests that true freedom cannot be found in the pursuit of perfection, whether in the form of another person or a flawless, idealized reality, but rather in the profound acceptance of ourselves, with all our complexities, contradictions, and imperfections. The idea of freedom, as Goethe portrays it, is not an external conquest, but an internal journey, a journey of understanding who we are, embracing both our strengths and our vulnerabilities, and finding peace within our own humanity. By refusing to confront the darker aspects of his psyche, Werther remains enslaved by his own idealized expectations, unable to recognize that the very act of relinquishing those ideals might be the key to his liberation. Goethe offers a vision of freedom that is grounded not in escaping the world's messiness, but in embracing it, finding satisfaction not in a perfect future or an idealized love, but in the real, unvarnished present. This timeless insight holds particular relevance today when the allure of external success, image, and validation is ever more pervasive, often pushing individuals to chase after unattainable ideals or to measure their worth against societal standards that are inherently flawed. Werther's fate becomes a powerful cautionary tale for anyone who seeks fulfillment by chasing after perfection, rather than engaging in the more difficult but ultimately more rewarding task of self-acceptance. Goethe's story is a reminder that our truest fulfillment is not a product of external accomplishments, but of an authentic alignment with our own sense of self, one that accepts and nurtures both our light and dark sides. It is through this process of embracing who we truly are, flaws and all, that we begin to cultivate the freedom to live authentically, no longer shackled by unattainable ideals, but empowered by the strength of our own unfiltered experience. Ultimately, Werther's tragic story underscores the importance of confronting ourselves with honesty and compassion. Only by acknowledging our vulnerabilities, facing our innermost fears, and accepting that life will always be a mixture of both joy and sorrow, can we find the true freedom that eludes Werther. This is a freedom that doesn't depend on perfect circumstances or idealized love, but on our ability to be present in our own lives, to navigate the inevitable contradictions of human existence, and to grow with resilience in the midst of life's complexities. It is only in accepting ourselves, our full, flawed, and beautifully imperfect selves, that we can hope to find the genuine peace Werther so desperately sought, but never attained. Closing thoughts. Lessons from The Sorrows of Young Werther. In The Sorrows of Young Werther, Goethe masterfully guides us through a rich and complex exploration of the human psyche, unraveling themes of love, longing, and the often painful journey of self-discovery. Through Werther's story, we witness the immense power of unchecked emotions and the ways in which they can both illuminate and blind us. His overwhelming passion is at once a testament to the beauty of human feeling and a cautionary tale of how these emotions, when unexamined and unbalanced, can lead to self-destruction. What Werther's intense emotional experiences fail to reveal, however, is the need for introspection and the grounding wisdom that allows us to navigate such powerful feelings without becoming consumed by them. At its core, Goethe's novel is not just about the dangers of unrestrained passion, but also about the importance of cultivating self-awareness and emotional maturity. Werther's tragic fate serves as a reminder that fulfillment cannot exist in isolation or in the pursuit of an unattainable ideal. True contentment, Goethe suggests, lies in the delicate balance between deep emotional engagement and the clarity that comes from understanding oneself, accepting both one's desires and limitations. Werther's inability to find this balance leaves him trapped in a cycle of longing, making his suffering not just a result of love lost, but of a life unlived, one where introspection and growth were sacrificed in favor of a singular, idealized vision of existence. In this way, Goethe calls us to reflect on our own lives with humility and mindfulness, encouraging us to embrace the complexities of our own emotions and imperfections. The Sorrows of Young Werther offers a powerful invitation to seek purpose from within ourselves, rather than from external sources or idealized versions of love. It challenges us to confront our vulnerabilities, not with self-pity, but with an openness to the wisdom they can offer, recognizing that our struggles can be as much a part of our growth as our successes. By its tragic conclusion, Werther's story becomes a poignant reflection on the human condition, one that urges us to pursue growth with patience and compassion. It is not through the perfection of our circumstances or the attainment of an ideal love that we find fulfillment, but through the acceptance of our authentic selves, imperfections, and all. Goethe's narrative reminds us that the greatest wisdom lies not in escaping the messy complexities of life, but in learning to live within them, to find peace amidst the turmoil, and to allow our experiences, both light and dark, to shape us into more complete, self-aware individuals. Thank you for joining us on Thoughtful Tomes. Until next time, let's continue to explore literature that does more than entertain. It holds up a mirror to our lives, offering reflections that inspire self-discovery and illuminate the paths we navigate in our own journeys. If you found this video helpful, please consider sharing it with others who might benefit from it as well. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new video. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring you more content just like this. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.